Welcome back to the CVK. Today we have a special guest baker coming all the way from upstairs. She's our house baker and daughter. This is Sara Thompson coming in. She's going to show us how to make a spice cake today. So take it away, Sara. Show us what we got.
So we're going to be starting our spice cake. We have our dry ingredients over here and our wet ingredients over here. For our wet ingredients, we have 2 tablespoons of molasses. I have 1 cup of packed brown sugar. I have 3/4 cup of melted butter, so that would be a stick and a half. I have 3 eggs. I have 1/2 cup of milk, and then I have a 1/4 cup of sour cream and 1 tablespoon of vanilla. All of these ingredients are going to be like room temperature or warmed. I heated up the milk in the microwave, and I also put the sour cream in the microwave for a little bit too, because we want to keep all of our wet ingredients room temperature so that when we put the cake into the oven it's not cold and it'll bake faster and more evenly. And then over here for our dry ingredients, I have 1 cup and 3/4 cup of flour. And then I have our spices that make it the spice cake. So that's going to be, let's see, we have cinnamon, there's cardamom in there, there's ginger, we have allspice and cloves. And then I have our leaveners. There's going to be a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder in there. And yeah, so those are our ingredients.
Are these headbands? Are we going to be wearing these when?
So those are cake strips.
Oh, okay.
So
maybe you can explain what that is.
We'll explain those in a little bit. Yeah. So to start, we're going to sift our dry ingredients. So Ray, you can do that.
Okay. The flour. Starting with flour first.
Start with the flour and the spices. Awesome. That's super fast. I usually take a lot longer to do that. So it's important to sift our ingredients because, especially when it comes to the spices, so you're going to sift those into there next.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All in the same bowl?
Yeah.
Got it.
And the spices, sometimes they leave a lot of clumps, especially in like the ginger gets clumpy, so it's important to sift those so that you get a more even batter. Yep. And then we'll also throw in our leaveners while we're at it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Boom.
Dry ingredients are done. So now we're going to go to the wet ingredients. So I'm going to use my stand mixer here, and we're going to go ahead and do our molasses, which I'm going to use this spatula to get out. When you're measuring out your molasses, it's good to use some like Pam or butter spray to get it all out of your...
So you spray the bowl first before you add it, before you put
right.
it out.
And
good tip.
yeah, I also did that on the measuring spoon, so that makes that better too.
Excellent. The more you know.
Yeah. And then I'm just going to add all of our wet ingredients into here.
Do we need to separate the eggs or anything like that?
No, so we're using whole eggs sometimes, and oh wow, that's our dog, sorry about that. So sometimes in cake recipes you use just egg whites so that you get a lighter colored cake. But this is a spice cake, so it doesn't matter what color it is because it's going to be brown, so we can use the whole eggs in there. I always crack my eggs onto a paper towel so that doesn't get everywhere.
Also, if you crack it on a flat surface rather than the edge of a bowl, you'll also get less shells, pieces of shell in there. So
right.
There's another good tip for you.
Yes.
And do you bring those to room temperature or anything?
Yeah, so I actually put the eggs in a warm water bath so that they warmed up a little bit, so that they were also room temperature. And then I'm going to give this a quick mix. Okay, and then our sugar is actually technically a wet ingredient. I don't know if you knew that. So you
I did not know
yeah,
that.
so sugar counts as a wet ingredient, so I'm going to add in our 1 cup of brown sugar into this mixture now. And mix that up. Okay, so you don't want to overmix your ingredients. It's good to do just a quick mix there. And you want to just mix until combined. So now we're going to add our dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. So you can see our mixture here. So
what happens if you overmix it then?
if you overmix it, you can make your cake too dense, or just, I don't know. Something happens to it. I think it's density that changes. I'm not completely an expert, but yeah. And then we're gonna add the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. And you wanna do a little bit at a time so it doesn't get everywhere. You can smell the spices.
And so you mix this on the one setting? Then,
Yeah,
right?
I mix it on low,
Yeah.
just so it doesn't get everywhere.
Everything will explode everywhere
Yeah.
if you go too fast.
You don't want to mix too long because I still have more of this mixture to pour in here.
So this is going to be a 3-tiered cake, is that correct?
Yeah, so we're making 3-layer cake with 6-inch pans. I can already mix that up.
Oh, it smells wonderful.
Yeah, you can really smell all the spices in there.
And this time of year when you have this kind of cake baking, you know, it just brings out the true holiday. It's great.
All right, so that looks pretty good. So now we're gonna prep our pans over here. So these are 6-inch pans, as I was saying, and we have 3 of them. So we're gonna butter and flour these. Have you done this before, Ray?
No, you can show me now.
Okay.
I'd be happy to help you.
All right, so we're gonna take some butter.
You're just going to kind of
Yeah.
smear it around inside,
Yep.
on the sides as well,
Yep.
and the bottom, correct?
So we're gonna do the bottom. And the sides. It kind of gets messy.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and grab a glove myself.
Okay. I try to hold on to it at
Gotcha.
the thing, but you can grab a glove. That makes sense. And then after you do that, you're gonna add a little bit of flour into your pan
Okay.
and just kind of knock it around.
Do you want the flour on the sides as well?
Yep, flour all over.
Okay. And this will prevent sticking.
Yes. So if you don't have any butter or flour to do this, although they are in the cake, but if you don't want to do this, you can always use some Pam or something. It's just always better to use the natural ingredients, in my opinion. So the headbands that Ray was talking about earlier, they're actually called cake strips, and what we use those for, they go around each of these pans. So we're gonna get them wet, if you
Okay.
wanna get them wet with really cold water.
Really cold.
Yep.
Got it.
And so these you can buy at, I think I got these on Amazon, but they're not that expensive, and I think they came in the pack of 3, if I remember correctly. But yeah, they're by Wilton, and you can change the size of them, but they're just these like strips that you get really wet, and the point of them is you put them around your cake pans, and they keep the sides of your cake wet while they're in the oven, and this makes it so that they don't dome up or like change shape that much in the oven, and they'll rise evenly, so that you have nice even cake layers, so that when you decorate it's a lot easier.
Okay.
They're kind of like little belts for your cake.
This is great.
Alright, and then we're going to pour our batter into these 3. I'm going to give it a quick stir with my spatula. Sometimes I find that with these, the bottom doesn't get as mixed as the top does, so you can see where that's not.
Yeah, that's common in any mixer, even industrial mixers as
Yeah.
well.
So it's good to give it a stir just to make sure that that comes out. All right. And then we're gonna pour these into here. I usually use a scale, but my scale's actually does not have a full battery at the moment, so can't really do that. So we're gonna kind of just estimate how much we want to put in there. So, but try to make them as even as possible.
Man, this smells good.
Yeah.
Too bad, that's pretty even.
Like I said, it's a lot easier when you have a kitchen scale to use, but yeah. All right. So these look pretty good. They will poof up quite a bit.
Move them around a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So I actually put all 3 of these in the oven at the same time, so we'll go ahead and do that.
So does it have to be on the medium, on the middle rack, the top rack?
Yeah, I put it in the middle rack on 350 degrees, so our oven's been preheating, so it's all ready.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and move those over there.
You want to keep some sort of separation in between them.
Yeah.
All right.
Just like that. So it was actually about 30 minutes that you want to bake your cakes for, but just keep an eye on them, and sometimes it'll take a little longer and shorter. So these look just about done. We're going to go ahead and give it a toothpick test to make sure. So you just stick the toothpick in, and it came out clean. So these are going to be all done. So we're going to go ahead and pull these out of the oven and put them onto a cooling rack. One of the ways that you can tell that the cake is done is that it's going to start pulling away from the edges, so you can kind of see here that it's coming apart from the edge just a little bit, and you can tell that that's...
It smells so good.
So we're going to let them rest for just a little bit before we put them on the cooling rack. Unfortunately, they did rise a little bit in the middle and they cracked, so, but that's okay, we can fix it with frosting.
Right.
So, yep, so we'll check back with you in a few minutes. Okay, so now we're going to be putting these onto the cooling racks. So you can go ahead and just throw them upside down, give them a good tap, and they should come out pretty good. If yours are domed, kind of like ours are, I like to flip them back over so that they don't get too... Because sometimes they'll crack on the other side. Okay. And another great thing about your cake strips is they're reusable, so you don't even, I've never even washed these. You just throw them to the side. All right, so now we're going to be making some brown butter frosting. I actually already browned our butter, so I used 7 sticks of butter in here, and I'll teach you how to do that. So to make brown butter, I put 7 sticks of butter into a pan over the stove, and I kept it on a very low heat so that the butter didn't burn. I kept an eye on it and stirred it every now and then just to make sure that it didn't burn. And then eventually it turns brown and it bubbles up. You can see how it's brown here. And then once it got to this point, I poured it into a glass bowl and stuck it in the fridge until it solidified.
And I'm telling you that this brown butter frosting, and anybody who knows me knows I don't care for frosting, but this is the best frosting I've ever had in my life. She just made some cupcakes last week, and it was fantastic.
Thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and take this brown butter, put it into the mixer, and I'm using a paddle attachment now instead of the whisk. This does not wanna...
You want me to assist you?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. So besides the brown butter, we're going to be adding a little bit of milk, some powdered sugar, and then I'm going to, because this is a spice cake, I'm going to be adding in some cardamom and some ground cinnamon to the frosting as well, and then also some vanilla extract. You usually want to do about a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then I'm going to kind of just do my own measurements of cinnamon and cardamom. You don't have to put those in there, those are optional. So I'm going to go ahead and put about a teaspoon of vanilla in. And so the bottom of the brown butter right here, that's all really good. You want to keep that flavor in there.
All that in there, because man, as soon as I got to that spot in there, the aroma was...
You can smell it.
else.
Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick whip. So you can see that the consistency of this is already like frosting, so really good. I'm gonna go ahead and add the bit of cinnamon and cardamom into here. And then I'll just give that a quick stir. Okay, and then we're gonna be adding about a pound of sugar. It depends on how you like it. We don't like our sugar that sweet. I prefer more of a buttery frost, or we don't like our sugar that sweet. We don't like our frosting that sweet. I prefer more of a buttery frosting, so I put less sugar, but if you want to add more sugar, that's up to you. It's all taste.
It's all preference.
Preference, thank you. That's a better word to use. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in our sugar. And then Ray, if you want to grab a tea towel, that'd be great. So I don't put all of it in at once, because again, we want to see how you like it. Yeah, just like a light towel, yeah, that's fine. So this is a good tip that I like to do when working with powdered sugar. Powdered sugar goes everywhere, so if you throw a towel over your mixer before you start mixing it, sugar won't go everywhere. Alright, so you can see that this is more frosting consistency, but you probably want more sugar in there because we didn't use too much, so we're going to add some more.
Do a little at a time so it doesn't get everywhere.
Yeah. Alright, and then you want to add a little bit of milk in there to make it creamy, probably about a teaspoon. Taste.
I would like to. Oh man. I think that's the perfect sweetness.
It's pretty good. All right.
And that brown butter.
The brown butter really brings out that. It's like a nutty flavor.
That's so good.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to separate these into a few different bowls because we're going to be coloring a little bit of it. I'm going to scrape off this butter now if you want to lick the rest of that.
No, I'm good. So what's each color going to do now?
So we're going to make a tree, so the brown is going to be the branches, and then the red, the orange, and the yellow are going to be some leaves. We'll be piping those on with a leaf tip. So I'll give you a close-up of that. So that's what a leaf tip looks like, and I'll show you how you make a leaf with that. So we're going to go ahead and dye these colors now. Okay. I don't have brown, so we're going to be making brown with some purple and orange, I believe is how you make brown. It's always fun to figure it out. Okay. If you have any big chunks of the stuff in there, you can kind of crush it up with your spoon a little bit so that when you pipe it, it comes out easier. So I'm going to add a little bit more red to this because it's more pink than I'd like it. But you see how there's a thing right there? That's from the brown butter. So I'm going to kind of crush it up so it doesn't bother us later when you're piping. So this one we're making brown, so if you want to add some orange and some purple, we're going to try to make some brown there. Okay, so we're going to start decorating now. I already put our regular, like plain frosting into a piping bag. This is the one I have the most of because it's going to be the base coat. And then I have some orange with the leaf tip. I only have one leaf tip, so we're starting with orange and then we'll move on to red and yellow. And then I have some brown, and I don't have any piping tip for that. It's just going to be plain. So we're going to go ahead and start. You want to start with a little dollop of frosting on your base so that your cake sticks to its spot. I'm going to start with this one because he's the tallest. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the center. And then we're going to go ahead and pipe on some frosting here. And then I'm using an offset spatula to just smooth it.
So this is where the artistic part comes in. this is her expertise here. So yeah, you should really see some of the stuff she's done over the past maybe year or 2 or 3. It's very impressive.
So for the next layer, I'm flipping it upside down because the tops were a little domed, so I'm doing that, and then we're gonna pipe in some extra frosting where it's needed. Then we're gonna do our base coat. So fill in any of these cracks here, and then just frost it up.
So we're gonna frost the whole thing, so
Yep.
it'll be that color around, that'll be the base coat as it's called.
Yeah, so this is like the crumb coat too. Typically you do 2 layers because the first one gets all the crumbs out. Then you put it in the fridge and you do a second layer. I don't know if I have enough frosting for that right now. So we're gonna try to make this work. Theoretically, you wanna do 2 layers. For the sides, I like to use the bench scraper. Kind of just. So I have a really thin layer here, so this is going to be our crumb coat. And we're going to stick this in the fridge for about 20 minutes to try to get the frosting to harden up. And yeah, crumb coats don't have to be perfect, so it's okay that it looks the way it does right now. So we're going to pop this in the fridge for 20 minutes and we'll see you back. Okay, so it's been in the fridge for a little while, so we're going to go ahead and do the second layer. I hope I have enough frosting. Okay, so now I'm going to be doing a little tree, so this is kind of just like freehand, so wish me luck. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to add on some leaves. So I'm starting with orange, and I have this leaf pipe or tip. So if Ray actually wants to try this out, he can try it out on here. So the way that you want to do the leaf is you press a little bit and then you pull off, and it kind of leaves the leaf impression. If you want to try doing that, Ray.
So you just press down.
Yep.
And lift up.
There you go. So now I'm gonna just go ahead and pipe on some leaves to the tree. And remember, I'm doing orange, red, and yellow, so I want to do these kind of in different places so I have room for the other ones still. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and do just the same thing that we did with the orange, but with the yellow. So I'm gonna start with the topping. Okay.
Very cool.
Well, there's our cake.
So you can do any kind of design you want to, be creative. You know, just like any artist with an open canvas, it's yours to determine what you want to make of it. So.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, there's
Very cool. All right.
spice cake.
Can't wait to open it up and have some. So I hope you guys learned a little bit here. I know I did. I'm not much of a baker, and Sarah was. It was lucky we had her to come in and show us how to make a cake today.
Yes. I'm usually behind the camera, so it's different to be in front of the camera. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoy this recipe, and thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time.